dwelling into the next topic, which is AI in customer experience. Well, AI is transforming the customer experience and is providing personalized content. This is an era when we rarely need to search for the products that would make our lives easier. It's so easy now to find It is so easy now to find a recommendation based on your past history. AI is essentially bringing any and all content to the forefront. This is an age where everyone knows everything relevant to their needs and wants. AI is also finding its way into cloud, where companies are putting their data lakes to glean faster insights from data and analytics. Well, right now we are moving on to our panel discussion, wherein I would request the audience to please use the Q&A section to post your questions. Well, it will be picked up and answered by the speakers at the end of the session if time allows. Well, our discussion is going to be about how AI will enable enterprises to reimagine the customer experience. We're talking about helping to detect customer patterns, intelligent chatbots, AI-assigned customer insights, human interfaces versus AI. Well, we've got our panelists who've joined us today. First up, Jason Yosinski, the co-founder of ML Collective, former founder and research scientist, Uber AI Labs USA. Well, Dr. Jason is presently the co-founder of ML Collective and a former machine learning researcher, founding member of the Uber AI Labs, a scientific advisor to Recursion Pharmaceuticals. His work focuses on building more capable and more understandable AI. Dr. Yosinski completed his PhD as a NASA Space Technology Research Fellow working at the Cornell Creative Machine Labs, the University of Montreal, Caltech NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and Google DeepMind. His work on AI has been featured on NPR, Fast Company, and The Economist, TEDx, and on the BBC. Well, we also have Kshira Saagar, the Group Director of Data Analytics Global Fashion Group, Australia. Well, Kshira is currently the Group Director of the Data Science for the Global Fashion Group, presently parent company of Zalora, The Iconic, and more. Well, he was recently recognized as #2 an analytical leader in Australia from 2019 to 2020. At every place he has worked, working, and will work, he likes to go back to the fundamentals, asking people to ask more questions of data and being a tough taskmaster on getting actionable outcomes from data on all possible occasions. Well, also we're going to be joined by Rashmi Hegde, the VP Medical Affairs, Cipla, India. Experienced medical director with hospital and healthcare industry. She's a doctor of medicine with interest in AI, digital, big data, RWE applications, and the role of personalized medicine in healthcare and pharma. Well, this entire panel discussion is going to be moderated by Hendra, Sumiarsa, the head IoT and digital enterprise, PT, Smartfen, Telecom, TBK, Indonesia. Well, Hendra is a tech enthusiast and a key leader in the field of technology and telecom, believes in driving change through innovations. So over to the entire panel, and thank you for joining us. Requesting you all to kindly unmute, requesting Hendra to take it forward. Hendra, over to you.
Thank you, Bhavana. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in a challenging era, which we are all never imagined. Pandemic drive digital transformation in an industry 4.0 adoption in an extraordinary pace. Advanced technology in 4.0 inherent multiple technology different than previous industrial revolution. These provide enabler for people, business, and organizations to innovate and sustain, even grow in this given situation. A digital native enterprise is able to scale at a pace that is an order of magnitude greater than traditional businesses. It is driven by a customer-centric and empowered workforce that embrace risk-taking as it seeks to continuously innovate. Technology and data are its lifeblood, fueling more efficient operation, new revenue stream, and customer loyalty. The role of IT department is expanding from supporting role to become business partner in the organization where they will be more proactive in developing and implementing digital native across the organization. So AI is the new UI. IDC survey that by 2024, AI-enabled user interfaces and process automation will replace 1/10 of today's screen-based apps, most likely using maybe RPA or chatbot as a main enabler on user interface. AI is expected to bring consumer or human behavior expertise to advise, guide, and add value to customer engagement equation. Customer-facing department most valuable use cases will drive both internal adoption and external customer satisfaction. Customer engagement and experience will become more priorities for business units. Data feeds and data sets based access will have to reflect customer requirement for betterment of the service. This is an age where everyone knows everything needs and what and wants. Question remains for industry. How AI will enable enterprise to reimagine the customer experience? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Hendra Sumiarsa. My day-to-day duty is managing IoT and digital for enterprise business unit in Smartfen Telecom. It's a leading telco, one of the leading telco provider from Indonesia. Without further ado, we will have 45 minutes ahead. We will have a seasoned, experienced, and accomplished veterans here from AI and machine learning sector joining our panel discussion, offering expert advice, insight that can be change our industry outlook. Dr. Rashmi, Miss Dr. Medical Affairs from Cipla, India. Welcome, Bu. Jason, co-founder MR Collective, former founder, research scientist, Uber AI Lab USA. Mr. Saagar, Group Director of Data Analytics, Global Fashion Group Australia. Mr. Rui, Pedro da Silva, Head of Product, yeah, E-commerce Logistics AP Moller, Mars, Netherlands. Okay, I would like to start our discussion today for all of us, understand your background and your view on our topic for our topic today from your perspective. Ladies first, baby. We would like Ms. Rashmi to share your background and view. The stage is yours, Mrs. Rashmi.
Thank you, Hendra, and thank you to Trescon for inviting me to join this panel discussion. And I believe we have over 300 people who are, with us today. And thank you to you for your time in listening to us. So, as Hendra as Bhavna already introduced me, I am a medical doctor and I have worked with pharmaceuticals for the last 2 decades. I've worked with medical affairs, with clinical trials, with regulatory policy, and I have worked in different geographies like Asia, Africa, Australia, Middle East, European regulatory authorities like the German regulatory authorities and the MHRA from the UK, and also with the TGA from Canada. So these TGA from Australia, and Health Canada authorities. So at Cipla, we are currently interested in innovative business models and emerging novel technologies in both digital data analytics, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. The way we look at AI is that we want to ensure that through AI and predictive analytics, we achieve 3 or 4 things. The first is scale of customer interaction, improved customer experience in whatever we do via AI, and efficiency in delivery to the customer. And this includes both internal and external customer. So for example, efficiency in manufacturing delivery, efficiency in delivering patient data to doctors via data analytics, faster response to data summaries, which will help improve patient care, and ultimately resilience in whatever we do via AI. So we want to ensure data analytics delivered with great agility to the doctors and the patients time after time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rashmi. Hello, Jason. Good afternoon, Jason.
Hi, glad to be here.
Yeah. Okay, would you share your background and view on our topic today from your perspective? It's yours, Jason.
Yeah, of course. Like Rashmi mentioned, I'd like to say, of course, thanks so much for having me here. Second, I'd like to say, while it may be afternoon where some of you are, it's quite late here. So anything I say that makes no sense, I will just appeal to that fact. So I'm a research scientist, as was mentioned before. My work and the work of my colleagues focuses on training neural networks and trying to understand how they work, why they make the predictions that they make, how they represent information, how they train, so the dynamics of training as training proceeds, how learning kind of progresses, in some cases layer by layer. One of my main perspectives is the types of machine learning we're using these days is both extremely powerful, so it has a lot of potential to change the world, as we've already seen. On the other hand, to the extent that it's inscrutable, it really limits our ability to use the technology effectively. So when the systems work, they can work almost sort of magically well and provide a magical user experience. When they break, when they don't work, it can be extremely frustrating for an engineer to debug, much less for a customer on the other end of a product to debug. So if you imagine that many of us have written code and run a program, and the program does what we want and we're happy. But when the program doesn't do what we want, what do? We drop into a debugger and we kind of go line by line and figure out what went wrong. So now imagine you're a customer and the system is not doing what you want, but you have no ability to debug. And even if you had an ability to debug, what's on the other end of that system is a machine learning model that you don't understand, but even the engineers that built it don't understand. So the fact that we don't understand models and how they work, I think will severely limit our ability to use AI to transform the customer experience. And so that's why I believe a lot of my work and my colleagues' work is important in trying to kind of figure out how networks work and make them more understandable to humans.
Great. Thank you, Jason. Great to have you join our discussion from halfway around the world. Really appreciate it. So the problem is in AI is human itself, right? Okay, so Australia is my second home. Really enjoy every time I visit Melbourne. We have Sagar joining from Australia. Hello, Sagar.
Hi, Hendra. How are you?
How are you, mate?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, would you share yours, sir? So the stage is yours. Thank you, Sagar.
Good. And as everyone mentioned, thank you for having me. And a couple of things you need to know about me. One, I talk really, really fast because there's no filter between my mind and my mouth. And the second thing you need to know about me is I talk really fast, and that's what I said before. So irrespective of it being afternoon or evening, I talk fast. So I think you'll have to put up with me too. My role is I'm the group director of data science for Global Fashion Group, which owns e-commerce entities around the world. So we used to own Myntra in India, Zalora in Southeast Asia, Iconic in Australia, Lamoda in Russia, Dafiti in Latin America, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, what we do is we sell clothing and footwear online. That's what we do. We are a clothing and footwear selling retailer online, like the Zappos in the US or Zalando in Europe, and so on and so forth. My role, I typically describe my role or my team's role as the ABC role, which basically means we are an advisor to the executives, the advisor to the leadership, advising them on where to go and how to make smarter decisions with data. So that's something we do. similar to how you'd run it through a finance team or through a legal team, they'd run it through a data team. B, we build teams and build culture of data or credibility. We build a bunch of data scientists across the world, and also we build trust in what we do. And C is we create value. So that's technically my role. And there are three kinds of customer problems we solve, and I probably wouldn't call it AI. What I would call it is three kinds of problems we solve with data. And we have three kinds of customers. One customer is the customer, which everybody knows. Somebody who buys from us online is a customer, and we try to make her life easier by showing her things that only she wants to see. I think Bhavna mentioned about not having to search. We are a big believer in not having to let people die by filtering. So if you want to buy a black dress or a black top, there could be 1,000 black dresses and black tops. So how can we make it easy for you to search and find what you need without having to search for it or something? So basically making a customer experience easier is something we do. The second customer is our employees. Our employees are our second customers. So basically making their lives easier, making their day-to-day work easier, automating work for them, augmenting their decision-making is something we do. And our third customer are suppliers or sellers who sell on our site. So how do we make their lives easier by showing them who's buying what and how do we sell better? So those are the three areas we use data in, and AI is just a tool where we use to make those decisions, and we can talk about that later.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sagar. Last but not least, joining with us, Mr. Rui. For routing, Mr. Rui. Hello. Can you hear us, Rui? Okay.
Hendra, I believe he's not here. Rui is
Okay. Okay. All right. So, okay, let's start with our desk. Thank you for your introduction and view. Would like to start our discussion with some questions. So, I think we can expect ladies first. Yeah. Rashmi. So, government and authorities knew little about the virus since the emergency of COVID-19 outbreak. All eyes now focus on healthcare space, include the use of Industry 4.0 technology to fight pandemic. During pandemic, which is a less contact economy, digital enabled business, and a health protocol everywhere, would you describe how AI plays role in healthcare, in which area, and how AI benefit healthcare provider? Stage is yours.
So I think there are two pieces to this. One is what is the current role that AI has played in the current pandemic? And I think that maybe we talk a little later. And also, what is the role of AI in healthcare? Is that what you're asking me? Okay, so the role of AI in healthcare is in multiple areas. So there is AI is required wherever there are huge pieces of data which are not visible to the human eye or the human cognition. And I think that happens almost everywhere now. So for example, it would be in manufacturing of healthcare products, of drugs, in drug discovery, also in patient care delivery, and ensuring quality of the products. I will take up two of these areas. So one is drug discovery and the other is patient care. So in order to get a drug on the market in medicine, any medicine on the market, what is required is about 2.6 billion at the last estimate and 10 years. And only 5% of all the drugs that are reviewed will finally get to the market. So there are huge costs to drug discovery, both in terms of time as well as in terms of money. Okay, so this is where AI comes in. AI can help very quickly to find the appropriate drug candidate and to bring this very quickly onto the market. In fact, all the work that is happening in COVID drug development and COVID vaccines has happened because of AI. So because of AI, for example, the vaccine developers have been able to crunch 6 years of work into 6 weeks. And that will help us to get the vaccine quicker on the market. The other area in which AI has a major role in healthcare is in patient care. So patients are currently, not visiting the hospitals for fear of COVID. And also, they still need to consult the doctors because this is not something that can be put off. And doctors usually make decisions by, the patient providing them with a list of the symptoms as well as signs. And these signs are elicited by the doctor through examination, through touch, through visual as well as audio signals. Okay. And now all this has to be done remotely. So, for example, if there is a patient who has fever, there could be at least 20 causes of fever that will come to my mind right now. But that is not possible to do because patient is not in front of the doctor. And therefore, there is a greater dependence on subtle signs, and there is a greater dependence on diagnostic modalities and what they can tell us, like X-rays and lab tests, and getting these results very quickly to the doctor. And this is again where AI comes in to help to look at the data, to provide, sectioning of the data, giving the appropriate data to the doctors.
Okay, great. So, right, we are now in the era of pandemic. So then we would like to know how AI can help us during this difficult era. So back again to customer experience, because COVID-19 is a bit how do you call it? Makes us scared. So back again now, how with or without the pandemic, we are in digital transformation. We are in industry 4.0 revolution. Yeah. So then back again to the how we can revive the economy. Using AI. Early or quick or early, then how do you call it? We are going to overcome this and back again to normal. So then, in the new normal, so what should we do? So AI will naturally play different roles in different type of business. For some, its capabilities will help to improve aspect of operational efficiency. Other aspect is to be game changing. For some companies born in online environment, the success of business model rests on it. Would you share with us a real example of your industry usage of AI to solve customer need or strengthen positioning in the market? Goes to Jason. So I know you are from lab, yeah, but I think you are helping the customer, and then strengthen customer need and strengthen the positioning in the market.
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's a good question. As you mentioned, a lot of my work is unfortunately a little bit on the research side, so focusing more on kind of the next generation of algorithms and processes that we use to create these models. However, at Uber, we did use ML for many purposes to make the customer experience better, to serve customers better. There's an entire self-driving division you're probably aware of that obviously uses machine learning for many purposes. I guess I can't talk about very many specifics there. But even on the Eats app, the Rides app, for many small purposes you might imagine. So for example, when a customer says, push the button, I'm hungry now. Oh, please, I would like to have some food, right? We can obviously use machine learning and AI to predict what that customer might want, given that it's Tuesday and they probably just finished work. Maybe they want to order Thai food again or pizza again based on their past orders. Maybe a new restaurant opened and there's no data on that restaurant yet, or no data on that restaurant and customer pair yet. We can use machine learning to kind of like complete this big matrix of who might want to order what and make good recommendations to that customer. Also on the kind of ride side, you can imagine things like predicting route times and predicting traffic. If we can predict traffic well, we can save people time. We can help drivers make more money. We can help riders get there faster. We can reduce, CO2 emissions and kind of just wins across the board. Is there any specific area you were considering more than that, or yeah, anything else you want me to talk about there, I guess?
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Jason. So yeah, Sagar, maybe your real life example on your end, because Jason is from the lab scientist part, yeah, how to help, he of course received the request, yeah, from product owner and make things work, and then we need to hear also from other industry, right? Yeah, other than right. So, what is the real use case, AI use case example?
Okay. So, like I said, we sell clothing and footwear online. And so if you think about it, the only difference between us and anybody else who has a Shopify website or a WooCommerce website or even selling it on Facebook is almost nothing. They also sell clothing and footwear online. We also sell. So there needs to be something different. And what we do differently is basically make it easy for customers to buy things or find things that they want. So for example, if I look to buy this denim jacket, what we do is we put together an entire outfit based on a computer vision model that says this denim jacket goes really well with a black color t-shirt and a denim jeans and a particular kind of shoe. Or if a lady is trying to buy a particular kind of dress, it says, for example, what Rashmi is wearing, say, circular earrings. It will say if she wears a dress that has pinstripes, then a circular earring goes really well with it, and a particular kind of shoe goes well with it, a particular kind of jewelry goes well with it, and we put together the whole outfit. And the way we do it is by looking at millions of other images on the internet, on social media, and everywhere else, what models are wearing, what people are wearing, and what are the latest trends. And based on that, we can put an outfit together. So what it essentially does is if you're trying to buy one item of clothing, it will also recommend other items of clothing. But it is not just an Amazon way of, if you buy this, you will also buy that, but it is more of fashion driven or a visually driven way of saying, these are the items that go really well together. So that's one way where we make a customer's life much easier by showing her only things that she needs to see and not bogging her down with a lot of information. The other thing that we use artificial intelligence or an algorithm for is basically letting our customers know, very similar to what Jason spoke about, estimating when the item will be delivered, because the biggest issue of buying online is when will I get my item. I'm happy to buy it, I'm happy to try it, but I don't know when I'll get it. So we exactly predict when you'll get that item, when will it get delivered, so that customers can have that confidence in making a purchase and buying it with more confidence. If it will take 10 days, maybe they won't buy it. If it will take 4 days, and if you stick to those 4 days, they're at least happy. They know exactly when they're going to get it. So a lot of customer communications from a delivery point of view is something that we also do.
Okay, great. So quality control, customer care, and fraud detection are currently the top AI use cases. A more detailed view, however, reveals considerable variety in the main use case pursued by different sector. So, in your experience, Jason, as back end, yeah, how do you call it, receiving requests, yeah, from product owner, what is the most immediate needs and potential long-term use case in your industry?
Sure. Yeah, I guess my work doesn't focus on a specific industry so much, but I think the biggest potential directions are first, as Sagar mentioned, kind of like finding what people might want. So predicting, this top might go well with these earrings, and this bottom, these shoes, that sort of thing. Kind of like first order predicting among a long list of things what might be better suited to a customer. So kind of like learning this first order energy function and like surfacing the top choices. We're seeing that pattern being used across many products in many industries. I think going kind of 1 or 2 steps beyond that. So not just the next one step that a customer might want to take within a specific app, but predicting kind of a sequence of actions. So not just the next one step. If they order the ideal top out of this series of tops, what might they choose? Let's say you're in a much more complicated app or a much more complicated scenario where the customer is going to be taking many kind of like chained together actions. Ultimately, our goal could be to predict kind of what does the customer ultimately want to do long term. In Saagar's case, that might mean putting together an entire wardrobe. So many steps, many purchases, many sub-clicks, just presenting the entire solution to the customer might be sort of a next generation possibility. This is within sort of a shopping app. Within an app like Uber, you could imagine trying to predict, you've seen the same customer take the same sort of ride many days in a row. You might pop up a single solution for them. I would like to go home, and when I'm home, I would like this sort of food to appear. And by the way, when I get there, I'd like to start watching, this TV show or something. Being able to find these kind of higher level patterns, I think, could be quite interesting. But ultimately, yeah, when that works, the experience can be even more magical than it is now. But then also when it fails, it could fail kind of like more spectacularly than it does now. And I think we'll see some interesting developments. I think we'll see companies taking good advantage of this in the next few years.
How about Jason? How about the data usability? You have a lot of data there. When people using rides, knows a particular person moving from point A to point B, their pattern, as well as the their how do you call it, needs and wants, quote unquote, how to they want to buy A or order food, something like that. What is actually, is there any issue in data usability, and how you tackle that?
Is there any issue in data usability?
Yes.
Yes, of course. There's always issue. There's privacy issues. Maybe some customers may be quite happy to be predicted well what they want. Other customers might find it creepy, or like they might not. They might disagree with the prediction. The same way you might disagree with some friend that's hanging over your shoulder, nagging you, and kind of always predicting what you'll do next. You might love that little shoulder angel, or you might like grow to hate it. Right? It could go either way. I think also we as just humanity, we have a lot of progress we need to make on many issues of data and data ownership. In an ideal world, as we, the 4 or 5 of us, as we move through the world, we produce tons of data. Currently, most of this data is owned. It's owned by the corporations and the companies that kind of capture it. But wouldn't it be great, and this could be a much longer discussion, wouldn't it be great if we owned that data, or if we had some say in how it was used, right? I think data ownership and issues of data ownership are one of the next kind of like large topics we need to address kind of as a human race.
I see. So okay. So how about encryption? To how do you call it, to make this data anomalies or something like that? Is that something that Uber do?
I couldn't quite hear what you said. Can you say it again?
Yes. Like to make the data how do you call it, personalized, something like that. So then you can leverage the usability of data. Is there something you do in the lab?
It's not something I've worked on personally, but it is something that's important that happens at many companies, and I think at Uber as well. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Rashmi, how about the data usability in healthcare industry? I think because the medical record or something like that is very valuable. If it is going to be usable and exchange, to predict the pandemic or disease, how to cure and after the cure. So what is your view about the data usability in medical?
So by law, we are not allowed to use data, patient data. So as a pharmaceutical company, one would not be allowed to use patient data, and one would also not have visibility to patient data. So the rules for patient data confidentiality have been in place even before the digital world came into place. So there were always clinical trials which were being carried out, on patients, and therefore there was a lot of patient data that was available, and that has to be available with companies. So the patient data is seen in a non-anonymized form only by the doctor and the patient himself. So
I
that is
see.
the rule that is followed in the
Whole
healthcare
world.
industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Saagar, so you are in how do you call it, retail industry, yeah? You are basically you are already transforming from offline to online nowadays. So you are investing a lot in IT because you are not in IT world. The business nature itself is not like us. So what would you share your view? What is the tangible benefit, yeah, from your investment?
Okay. So a couple of things. One, customers have higher expectations now. And like Jason mentioned, in this day and age, everyone expects you to know better. They compare you to like some of the leading companies in the world. Like they say, if a Uber can get me a cab in 2 minutes, if somebody can, Amazon can deliver in one day, why can't you do something in X days? Or if somebody can, and people expect to be treated in a more personalized way. People expect to be treated in a more understandable way. So people want to be understood and they don't want to be willing to give basic information to you. So if they've expressed a particular behavior, they want you to understand it and then react and adapt to it. So basically making customers happy is something that we've been trying to do with data. So if a customer comes to site and she spends a lot of time browsing, if she doesn't find anything engaging or interesting, she will never come back to the site. So how do we make that particular visit for her engaging? How do we come up with features and designs and products that make her say, oh yeah, this is interesting, I want to come back again tomorrow? Because at the end of the day, we're going to sell clothing and footwear. It's not like everyday clothing is going to change. So how do we make that experience interesting for her every day? How do we design products where, for example, we built a product where you can take a photo of something, of someone's wearing, and you look for it. So that is an interesting thing. So she's on the bus, on a train somewhere, she can take a photo of a dress somebody's wearing, and then you can find for that product. Or you can try something on using augmented reality. So we need to keep making the product more engaging for customers. So that's one big advantage. So that makes us stand out. And the other thing, obviously, is a lot of efficiency measures, like you mentioned. So we do deliver our own items from our warehouses. So what is the optimal delivery route, and when should the items come in? What is the ideal inventory cover that we need to have, and what is the ideal price point that we need to be selling at? So a lot of those smaller efficiency measures are optimized only with data or only with, say, optimization algorithms. Humans, as good as they are, I think we are only good at solving 80% of the problem. The remainder 20%, the optimal curve is only solved with AI. So that's where it really comes in for us.
All right. So, but is it helping? It's helping the revenue. You know, for how many percent in it?
So I can't. Yeah, we're a public company, so I can't let you know the percent because we have a quarterly call coming up.
Okay.
But I can tell you for a fact that we've massively cut down in terms of our operational costs. So I'll give you a small example. So at our warehouses, we have 200 people picking items. When an order is made, so a human being goes to a corner of a warehouse, picks an item, packs it. So what we've done is we've written a simple picking path algorithm, which says, don't just keep picking however you want, pick in a particular way, or a path. And what that does is it saves 26% of the time for our pickers to pick. So basically, we can do the same amount of work with 3/4 of the people instead of having to do with all the 100% of the people. So that is how we are trying to save costs and trying to understand how we can use data to get the same amount of work done with a limited amount of resources.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience, insight, advice, and thought. We found this very valuable knowledge and reference for all of us to take further action adopting AI in our business. We are now coming to the end of our discussion. We would like to hear a couple of speakers here. Maybe starting from Jason, halfway around the world. Jason, please.
I missed a little bit of what you said. I think the connection was bad. I think you're just asking to kind of summarize my views, where things could be headed. Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I think there's kind of great promise, but a lot of what we need to work on is in issues of understandability and interpretability of the models that we're training, both to make it easier for engineers to develop better models, better predictions, and also to enable customers to kind of better debug on their own when the experience goes wrong. Worst case, you have a super frustrating customer experience. Best case, you have a magical customer experience, and you have a happy customer who comes back and buys your product again and again.
Thank you, Sagar. Thank you, Jason. Sorry. Next, Sagar, your closing remarks.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with Jason. In this day and age, everybody wants to be treated better. All the customer expectations have gone up considerably. So the only way you can either stand out in terms of your customer experience is by throwing more people at it to make your customers feel more happier, or throw better technology at it. And so I think I will leave it for everyone to judge on what is the more cost efficient way and the scalable way to solve this problem. And so that is my final call out. So if you want to make your customers happier and have that leading edge on being a growing company that also has profitable business, you need to start using smarter data-driven technologies to solve the problem.
Great. Thank you, Sagar. Last but not least, Mrs. Rashmi, your closing remarks?
Yeah, so I think I would like to share a couple of examples of what we did. So during the pandemic, because we couldn't reach out to the doctors and have regular education programs that we have for doctors, we moved to digital and to AI, and we used AI analytics to understand the doctor's need. And I'm happy to say that we were able to increase the number of doctors attending our programs 10x. So in the last 3 months, or a little over 3 months, what we've done is we've done 1,000 programs digitally, and we have engaged more than 250,000 doctors. Secondly, in the area of patient care, what we've done is we have a digital platform for patients of diabetes, which allows both the treatment, the diagnosis, the nutritional and the physical exercise support, through a digital platform. And it has been found that using this digital platform, the patient's control of diabetes is about 20% better within the first 2 months itself. So I think my conclusion would be that AI is important in accuracy of diagnosis and treatment, in prediction of disease, of phenotypes of patients, in drug-drug interaction, in predicting health events, like, for example, myocardial infarction. Apparently, 8% of all myocardial infarction is missed because of not improper diagnosis, even in the emergency room. Simplification in terms of data, treatment protocols for patients, example, genomic sequencing, robotic surgery, and also in assistance in home healthcare, paralytic patients, remote patient access to healthcare, and also in resource-crunched healthcare centers and countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your closing remarks. Thank you, Mrs. Rashmi. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Sagar. Thank you for your time and joining this panel. I believe the discussion benefit and enlighten us, all of us, to enable business reimagining our customer experience using AI. And that's a wrap. Back to you, Bhavana.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Now, well, we do have time on hand, and we do have a couple of questions which have come in. So I'm just going to be directing them from the audience. So there's a gentleman by the name Hariharan, and he needs your thought, your comment on his thought, which is that are we concluding that AI is the only way to enhance the customer experience? Now, that's what he is requesting you all to put in your comment on that statement. Over to you. Hendra, if you can direct that to the panelists, please.
Yeah. Yes. Sagar, maybe you can.
Yep. So like I mentioned, right, I'm not saying AI is the only way to improve customer experience. AI is the only way to improve it scalably at scale. So yes, you can have one-to-one, one person, one client service representative for every customer. But what if you have 1 million customers? You can't have 1 million staff, right? So I think if you want to try to do that kind of a personalized experience for 1 million, 1 billion people, you need to have smart tools, and AI is pretty much trying to do that at scale for you. And that's how I like to think about it. If you're still dealing with, if you only have 100 customers and you're dealing with a smaller company, maybe you just don't need it. You just need to have really smart people working for you. But if you're a company that's customer facing, has millions of people, you definitely need smarter tools. It's a very simple example. Do you need, why can't fingers be used to do calculation? Yes, you can use fingers, but there are only 10 fingers. But if you want to count till 1,000,000, you need a calculator. That's how I look at it.
Super.
Okay, super. Yeah. Is there any more question, Bhavana?
No, currently there
Okay.
are no any more questions, but if on this statement, would anyone else like to comment? Any of the other panelists?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just thinking that in terms of healthcare also, there is so much big data that is available. And as I said, which is not visible to the human mind. Okay, so if you look at the electronic medical records, or if you look at drug discovery, as I said, there are millions of drugs which are available today. And currently scientists are trying to repurpose these drugs for COVID. So what we call repurposing of drugs. Rather than go to new drug discovery, they're looking at antiviral drugs, anti-inflammatory drugs, and how these can be repurposed for the treatment of COVID. And it would take years and years to crunch this data, or years and years to crunch data related to development of a vaccine. Okay, a platform for the vaccine to be carried to the patient. Okay, so not a digital platform, but a mRNA platform, for example. And this is possible in a short period of time only through AI. So while AI is not the only thing that makes the customer experience, and while AI is not independent of the human mind, the AI definitely adds value to the human mind in delivery of customer experience.
Great, super. Yes.
Jason, would you like to? I know it's a little late for you out there, but would you like to give in your concluding?
Sure. So first, I agree completely with what Sagar said. When you have few customers, you can definitely give a human touch to each customer and listen to what they need, listen to their demands or their requests, their comments, their complaints, and then take action appropriately. And as your customer base scales, maybe we would like to build some automated systems to take care of customers better than we can on our own. However, we have to be careful that these automated systems risk missing out on kind of the most valuable part of the customer feedback, which is actually taking that feedback, backpropping it, to use neural network parlance, into the organization and using it to change the organization. So maybe Sagar has a system that can service millions of customers and it gives them exactly what they want. But if it's too automated, if it stops there, then the organization doesn't recognize that the customer's needs have been changing for years and the company's kind of stuck in the past. So as long as we're careful to still enable that sort of backprop, that sort of transmission of information from the customer all the way back into the actual minds of the people in the company, as long as we can do that, I think the whole system can work. It can all be beautiful.
Thank you so much to the entire panel for joining us. And the comments are coming, that great summary by everyone. So thank you so much on that, and being a part of the World AI Show.